So final bans were Shyvana, Kha'Zix, and Master Yi on blue team, which are all pretty standard bans. Shyvana, not quite as common as she used to be, but still a strong character. If I were them, I might have banned Zi over Shyvana or Warwick or one of the other like Feral Flare junglers rather than Shyvana, but it's still fine. On the split side, they banned out Vi, LeBlanc, and Xin. So strong solo queue champions to ban out. No real complaints there. I'm not judging anyone horribly. Then their picks, it looks to be a mid lane Lulu, top lane Jax, jungle Udyr, and then Trist and Janna bot lane. Then on the split side, they have, I'm assuming that would be Kali mid, Soraka top, and then they would have Warwick jungle and Sivir Leona bot lane. Sivir Leona, as we mentioned before, lots of kill potential, but not great disengage. On the split side, though, Janna, Trist both have ways to disengage if they need to, especially once they're level 6. So I'm not 100% convinced that Leona and Warwick are going to be able to get onto and stay on Tristana in a lot of these fights. So if Tristana plays well and is able to scale up, she has some pretty good late game scaling with her auto attacks and her crazy range. And they do have the Janna and Lulu to protect the Trist. So it really is obviously a skill matchup, but I'm not 100% convinced they're going to be able to deal with that threat come late game, especially when you're also having to deal with the Jax. You can't afford to blow absolutely everything on one champion. They do have the double threat, essentially. Steven, do you have any comment on the champion picks? Although you're probably not familiar with Soraka in lane, are you?
Like, I've heard that she goes top lane, and apparently she's quite the bully. She was picked bot lane sometimes in Dominion for that reason. But overall, she seems strong. Is Janna, is she viable now, or
sort of?
How is she?
Okay, I would argue Janna is viable, and I think this is just my Janna boner showing. I really like her. I miss playing her. She was so much fun. She was my Freelo last year. But I think the reason I would argue she's viable is, again, junglers are all hard engage damage champions. Supports are all pretty much hard engage, oftentimes some damage champions. Top lane, all hard engage. Mid lane, usually assassinate. So Janna counters all of that. She's still going to be weak in lane. She's still going to have low kill potential. She's not going to have lockdown. But in the right team comp, she counters what the enemy team would want to do. Assuming you're not gimping your team by picking her, she is strong. But she's so situational, I have a hard time really suggesting people main her or play her oftentimes.
Yeah. Overall, these lanes, I think that Tristana and Jen are actually going to have a bit of a hard time against Sivir and Leona. Tristana's going to have to be really careful with her positioning. She's going to be constantly dodging Zenith Blades and Boomerang Blades.
And my concern there is that Tristana has no choice but to push. And assuming that Sivir is capable of just freezing the lane, that's going to leave her in a huge amount of danger on Tristana. Janna is very good at canceling Leona engages, but when you're hard pushed and versus a team that you can't really fight or harass, a single disengage doesn't mean much.
Yeah. That's going to be kind of rough, a bit of a rough bot lane for them. And I'm hoping that Udyr will be able to bail them out, maybe if the lane gets to be a bit of an issue, but as you said, Tristana pushes the lane. It's going to be hard.
And especially looking at jungle synergy, Udyr has good early ganks, but he has to be able to get in behind people. That's not going to happen on a constantly pushing lane, unless that is a Soraka mid. If it's a Soraka mid, she'll shove, Udyr should be able to camp that. But outside of that, honestly, I just don't see Udyr being able to gank most of these lanes. Tristana is going to push. Lulu generally pushes. And then all you really have left is, I'm drawing a blank who the final champion is. I'll wait till this loads.
It's someone.
Jax. Yeah, Jax needs a few levels, but if Udyr is able to get in behind and gank for Jax, that's the only lane he can really have much of an effect in. There's no lockdown from bot lane, and they're going to be pushing, so he can't gank bot lane at all. Lulu has a slow, she has a polymorph, she's good at dueling, but not great at lockdown, and usually pushes the lane, so Udyr's probably not going to be going there either. So Udyr is either going to have to absolutely decimate Warwick in terms of counter jungling, or he's going to have to be able to pull off consistently good ganks for Jax and get both of them ahead.
One thing that I'm noticing, Lulu was first pick, right?
I believe so, yes.
So one small thing is that on a Kali, that's kind of a risky choice to pick a Kali into Lulu because her E does reveal you. So if you're up against Lulu mid lane, you can't really use your bubble to try and avoid her damage because if she lands that E onto you, she's going to be able to see you and follow up damage onto you.
For sure. Just give me one moment.
Also, is Sneaky in here?
Okay, I'm back.
Sneaky's in here.
Oh, welcome, Sneaky.
So sneaky, that's sneaky.
I'm assuming he's just setting up Mumble. He mentioned that he had to download it. Brian, he's here now. Okay, so this is taking a few minutes to load in. Hopefully Mr. War will be able to reconnect and we'll be able to get this going. Steven, you should be able to spectate off me. Same with you, Sneaky. You have me on my friends list, I believe. So we should be good to go in just a second.
There we go. I'm loaded in there.
You can hear me okay now, right?
Yes, we can.
Hey, Sneaky.
How are you today?
Oh, we're doing pretty well. Workshops have been going pretty well so far. This is our second game of the day. Probably going to do about 2 more.
Very, very cool. What's the best way for me to watch the stream?
Okay, so I would actually
connect to the spectate.
Yeah, I would suggest that you spectate off of me in the client. You should be able to do so now. The game just started.
Also, Sneaky, are you friends with Riot Rival?
With Riot Rival?
Mm-hmm.
Do not know Riot Rival personally.
No, but he's one of my favorites. He's like one of my closest Riot friends.
I'm sorry that I do not know him.
No, the correct response.
Quite a large company.
The correct
really
response. Anytime Steven says something like that, is just be like, "No, I'm supposed to be your favorite. Please leave now."
I'll try to remember that.
I'm trying to think who else there is that like. Actually, do you know Reckless Abandon?
No. What department does he work in?
I think he's like Q&A analyst or something like that.
No, I work in player support, and then I work with some of the development guys and like live design.
Okay.
Alright, so we do have a pause coming out in this game. Unfortunately, Kali did not reconnect. Hopefully, they're not going to be an issue here. I don't believe... Has Mr. War been in a workshop before, Brian? Alright, so he's not been here before. Hopefully, it's just a minor computer problem and he'll be able to rejoin. We try and avoid any remakes of these games that we can because it does take a while to get everyone in, go through picks and bans, and get back into the game. So we have the reconnect. Hopefully, we'll be good to go in just a second here. Just waiting on the unpause.
So, Sneaky, you work in like customer support in a way. Do you still have a soul, or like do you hate everyone?
Surprisingly, I've actually been in working like customer-related jobs for over 10 years now, and I actually really, really enjoy trying to meet as many people as possible. And although not everyone's going to be grateful for what you do or happy or nice, there's a lot of really good people out there kind of like make up for that. And I just try to be as polite as I can, and hopefully, even if someone's not really happy, find a way to turn that around.
I'm in such awe of that, just because, like, even after, like, 6 years of customer service, I'm like, no, customers aren't humans. They're a different species of monster. Like, I can't even deal with them.
It's all about perception. It's to them, you're the person who's keeping them from what they're entitled to, in a way, and in a way they're right. If you're trying to give them some sort of service and they feel like they're not getting it, you want them to be happy. But at the same time, don't let people kind of let it get into their heads where they think that they deserve more than they actually have paid for or earned the right to have.
Mm-hmm.
So back in the game here, blue team was able to sneak right up to the red buff. Soraka did try and protect it, but no one saw each other at all, really. Soraka did ward, so they know that the blue buff was not taken. And so at that point, I'm unconvinced that Warwick is going to be able to take away the enemy blue buff. So he's just going to go ahead and do his normal jungle route. we mentioned in selection that we were a little bit concerned whether or not Udyr was going to be able to really gank and get in behind people like he needs to. But if he takes this route where he's just going to hard counter jungle, not let Warwick get his Feral Flare finished up, that's a very good way to influence this game on his part, I'd say.
That's true.
I was going to say, Feral Flare, basically, it's like a really, really strong item right now, but the way that people have found to counter it is by counter jungling is the way to really slow somebody down. So if Warwick can't get those stacks up, and if he gets 5 to 10 stacks behind, Udyr is going to be able to turn lanes around and really give really, really strong ganks much, much faster than Warwick can get up to speed.
Mm-hmm. My only concern, though, is just the impact they have come mid and late game.
We just saw an engaged come bot lane from Leona onto Janet. They're taking a lot of damage, but they're focusing Sivir. They're not focusing on Leona whatsoever. And Sivir actually had to blow her flash to get away from her. But now Jenna, she engaged for a little bit too long. She got taken down super low by Leona.
It was actually
re-engages, though.
really
She's
good bait with that movement speed, knowing that she could take 2 hits and still get away. It was a very, very risky move. It sort of paid off for her, though.
Yeah, they got first blood. That was well done.
Yeah, and that's highly surprising given the passive nature of most Janna players. Your early trades are pretty bad, but if you are able to get that early engage, if you're able to get that double knock-up or what have you, then it does allow you to land combos like that.
The only thing Jen has to be careful of is she is really low right now, and Sivir has her Ricochet as well as her long-range Boomerang Blade. So Sivir might try and snipe her.
I think the thing is this Sivir is going to be looking for, since she's in lane by herself, but both Tristana and Janna are low, she's going to try to spell shield something to get that extra mana, and then she can get a Ricochet as well as her Boomerang.
Great job from Sivir. She plays down the ward. She saw them coming. However, the exhaust comes down. We saw a flash coming down from Udyr. That was a great job by Udyr. He landed the stun onto Sivir, then he immediately backed off, and he let Tristana get the kill.
That's actually something that you won't see in ranked games super often, is the jungler giving up kills to AD carry, but it's one of the best investments you can do is get your AD carry fed so they can start to steamroll and carry the game a lot earlier.
Especially the kind of lane that they're up against, like Tristana getting fed against Leona and Sivir is really going to help turn what would be a disadvantage, a bad lane for her rather, into like a much easier lane that she can get into late game from.
Yeah, unfortunately with Leona, she's a really, really good initiator and able to fight really well, except for she doesn't play that well from behind because she has to initiate and has to be able to go in, and if you're going to get killed by going in, you have to play as passive as possible and just kind of stand there and wait till mid-game.
Yeah, at this point she's probably best waiting to level 6 outside of ganks. That's her real power spike, and especially if they can combine that with a Warwick ult, well, that's a free kill. If I was Sivir at this point, I would be wanting to play as passively as possible because Tristana is forced to auto-push the lane. If I'm then able to freeze it right at my turret, that means Udyr can't gank me because he can only gank if he can get behind me. I can get free farm, and it makes me not have to deal with any significant poke. And then once Warwick 6, boom, we get free gank.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Soraka top. She's been overextended and playing really, really aggressively ever since she saw Udyr on bottom. And she's got a whole level on Jax now. We'll see how this gank goes.
Great pickup. We see Jax, his stun comes out, the ignite comes down, and they managed to pick up the kill onto her. That was a really well done gank by Udyr.
It was a little odd though. Soraka stopped to silence Udyr, and that's not going to change the form he's already in, and he was already in his stun form, so it's not going to really save you at that point.
Yeah, and I guess sometimes people kind of just forget about that. It will stop your character from moving to cast a spell, so sometimes it's better not to cast anything and just keep running and hopefully make it to safety.
The other thing is she didn't use Ghost. I feel like she could have escaped that gank had she just not used her Infuse and had she just popped Ghost instead.
Jax was able to hit level 6 this time first and getting a lot of damage onto Soraka.
Oh, poor Udyr getting executed. That's always so awkward when you're the jungler.
A lot of times you'll be jungling and it comes down to that last hit and you're just wondering, oh, can I get this last one in or am I gonna... Yep, I'm gonna die.
For those things, you hope your team just doesn't notice. Like, shh.
Nothing happened. It's cool.
So Soraka using her ult, Honestly, I'm not sure what the point of that was. She wasn't in danger of dying right at that moment, and she may as well just wait a couple seconds for her heal to come off cooldown.
Well, she doesn't want to risk the Jack stun and being able to go all in, so she's trying to get her health to a
Ooh.
reasonably safe distance.
Mid lane, we see an engage coming out from Akali. Lulu getting taken down way too low. Unfortunately, Lulu didn't use her ultimate on herself to try and get away from Akali.
She didn't have the mana, but much like top lane, Jax had to back off because once he had blown all of his cooldowns, he was just out of mana and couldn't put in a full initiate again. So he had to go back and try to like recharge.
Mm-hmm. Good use of the stealth drag coming out from Akali. She went back into it after her initial combo so that she wasn't going to be poked down for no reason. As soon as her Q came back up, throws the Q, waits for her E, alt in, E's, auto attacks, and, well, at that point she has her kill.
Yeah, the interesting thing there was it's about a little bit about mana management. Was Lulu used her E to sort of reveal the Akali, but did not save enough mana for her ultimate afterwards that would have saved her life.
Where's Soraka? That one gank put her so far behind. Jax is just diving her right now under the turret. He manages to pick up the kill.
That's a lot of why probably Soraka was trying to push that advantage so much earlier. As soon as she loses that advantage, if Jax can start to one-shot her or just really hard initiate, then she's not going to be able to turn it around on him.
See Warwick, he's tried to duel Jax. And right now Warwick's backing off. He's a little bit nervous, but he's in the middle of the minion wave. Jax's cooldowns came back up, and he's able to pick up the kill onto Warwick. As well as get the blue buff.
That's a really scary fight to have against Jax because he's just got so much burst and lockdown. And Warwick had already used his ulti. I think he was waiting that if he could have got one more Q, off, he could have healed up and possibly been able to win the fight with red buff. But one of the two was going to die in that exchange.
Very good decision to immediately take away Dragon. As soon as you see Warwick dying top lane, you know Soraka's down as well. So that's a very easy and free objective for them to take.
Janna's almost perfect for supporting that because of the shield, also adding attack damage to Udyr's Tiger form.
Udyr coming down for the gank. She's putting so much damage right now into Leona. He manages to pick up the kill. Tristana, she uses her ultimate, wasn't able to pick it up, but was able to get the assist. Overall, the Udyr is doing a really good job for what looked like a really hard jungle for him.
Here's what we were kind of talking about earlier, where if that Udyr is kind of keeping Warwick behind, then Udyr will be the one controlling the lanes for ganks.
Yeah, and a lot of that just boils down to one set of counter jungling. It's not as though he's constantly going back in there.
Yeah, it's really good that Udyr's actually getting some stacks up on his Feral Flare at the same time. They have quite a big gold advantage, and as we can see, Jax is starting to steamroll top. Warwick's going to have a really hard time turning any of these lanes around at this point. Yeah. Luckily, his ulti's up, so he has some very, very strong ganks we'll see start happening now.
Hopefully, once Leona hits level 6, he'll be able to synergize with her and maybe turn around bot lane a bit. In mid lane, Akali has a kill onto Lulu. He might be able to help her out here. Actually, if Akali plays this well, if she's really cheeky about it, she might be able to sneak a kill onto Lulu. No, she
Lulu
was
saved
able to
enough
burst her down
mana
before
for
the
the
ult.
ulti. Oh! Udyr a little to him. That was really good by the Warwick, just waiting for Udyr to try to get that hard engage and pulling him when he was in the perfectly wrong position.
So Tristana tried to stay bot lane as Janna was backing out. Purple team didn't push the advantage as much as they could have, but that's just him being not quite on the same page as his support. You really want to be backing out when your support does, going in when they do, so that you can catch your opponents off guard and push that advantage to the most that you can.
Akali's trying to get some heavy pressure on mid, and I don't know if you guys noticed that Warwick's been counter jungling now and starting to set up these ganks. As long as you can just show presence, you don't necessarily have to get a kill. Just back off the enemy team. And looks like a purple team's actually doing a really good job of warding too, so they can know when these ganks are coming now.
Looks like Udyr's kind of dancing around. He's sitting on a ward though, so they're not really going to overextend and give him the kill there. So, kind of backing off and moving towards the mid lane, it looks like.
It's going to be interesting to see if Soraka's going to be able to hold that top tower. She does have like a whole lot with her heal, and she's building very, very tanky. But Jax, that's 4-0, and now has a 15 CS advantage on Soraka. That's going to be really, really rough top lane. I don't know if Warwick should necessarily focus top lane and try to save that tower, or just help steamroll mid and bot, and then maybe they can help top lane later.
As a general rule, in solo queue, I find that I help the lane that's snowballing because that's my best shot of kind of winning the game.
It's one of those, I know you're losing top, and I'm sorry to hear that, but to win the game, I need to help the people that have a chance.
Pretty much. We see Warwick, he gets caught up by Lulu. Janna's right now helping him out. Or helping her out, rather. Akali manages to see it. We see Leona, she comes down, she manages to catch out Lulu and Janna. We see the ultimate come down as well. Lots of damage going down, and she explodes. Now a flash coming out, and Janna also falls to Akali.
That's good. Akali's actually starting to roam now. She's one of the few people on their team that had a couple of kills. Now she's up to 4 kills. She's actually going to start to get dangerous, and she can steamroll, just as well as Jax is able to.
Only thing is I'd like to see her maybe get a few more assists and give a few more kills to her carries. Because Sivir's actually doing really well. Like, she has more CS than Tristana. She's pretty even in gold with her, so Sivir's a pretty good shot at kind of keeping them in this game. And if she gave more kills to her, it'd be a good thing to do.
That's really impressive. She's been 1v2 for a lot of this game as well. Leona just missing that hook. That could have really helped Sivir pick up a kill.
Oh man, Akali taking so much damage from Jax.
And the worst part about that situation is Jax just got a 500 gold shutdown.
Yeah. He's already so ahead. Oh my goodness. Isn't Jax like a pretty common ban now too?
Yes.
Yeah, the thing that people are starting to notice is that anyone who can, pick up enough steam where you can't stop them if they get ahead, much like Jax, if he gets too strong, he's really, really hard to take down and just does so much damage. It's just too dangerous to leave him out there on the risk that he might get ahead like he did just now. Taking down a tower with a Warwick beating on you and then just turning on the Warwick right afterwards just shows how far ahead of the rest of the team he is. And having the Blade of the Rune King at this point in the game is 14 minutes in is going to be really, really painful.
Yeah, that was kind of ridiculous.
I would also point out one of the reasons that Jax has picked up so much steam is that a lot of his counters just aren't played anymore, either due to nerfs or due to sort of meta shifts. And the acceleration of games, especially in high elo, a lot of split pushing, tower pushing is going on. And so therefore his technically poor early game is not as big a deal when the early game is literally the first 8 minutes or so of a match.
Well, when there's a Jax being played, much like when there's a Nasus top, you just literally can't leave him alone. You need to focus that as your first priority. And if you can get him behind, the lane can hold themselves from there.
Very nice boomerang
blade. That was a
blade.
great pickup by Sivir and Leona. Janna did a great job of trying to disengage from that. Her tornado landed on Leona's Zenith blade, but unfortunately Leona's her entire combo, it hit when it needed to, and they managed to pick up the kill. But she has to be careful because she's getting taken super low right now by Tristana. If Tristana can pick up this kill in time, she might be able to rocket jump away before Sivir gets the kill.
Nice flash.
That's exactly
there.
what we saw happen.
Jax is getting a bit out of control, but he hasn't taken that tower yet. And it looks like Sivir is starting to get the advantage in bot lane. Tristana made a really good play on taking Leona out and getting away with it.
I was kind of worried there for her too, because if she didn't get that kill, then she would have been kind of screwed. But fortunately she did, and she was fine.
Without a little bit of risk, there's no real great reward. She wants to be able to fight back and get those big items. You're going to have to take a little bit of risk sometimes.
That's
It's
fair.
massive damage from Akali.
She should be able
Looks
to
like
get both
leaving
here.
the tower range is just too dangerous
Team
right
Purple, they know that they're behind. They actually got that dragon. They responded to that really well. They managed to kind of even out the gold advantage that Team Blue has. And Akali, so far ahead, gets a double kill. Manages to pick up the kill into Udyr. Now she's going on to Janna. However, she gets exhausted, so a lot of her damage goes down. She's forced to burn flash. But now Janna's chasing after her, but Leona's here to meet them up.
Akali's
Leona,
gonna
she
come back
engages
in.
onto Tristana. So much damage is getting taken down. She should have focused Tristana instead because she had so many stacks, but instead she chose to go for Janna. Now we see Warwick. He ults the Janna and picks up a fairly easy kill onto her.
And Leona's still picking up a lot of gold off these assists. 127 gold for that assist right there. So every time she sets up a kill, she's still gaining more items and more gold, getting tankier and more dangerous.
Oh no, Sivir. Yeah, not much she could really do there.
She tried to spell shield the Blade of the Rune King so the slow wouldn't affect her, but it was just a second too late. She might have been able to outrun him had that gone off in time, but unfortunately was only able to block one of Jax's auto attacks.
I'm impressed with Team Purple. They're making the right choices to kind of even out the gold disadvantage that they're playing against right now. It used to be like 3,000 gold, but now they're only 14 or 1.4k gold behind.
Yeah, and they actually they're 2 towers behind too. So I'm interested to see, you know, once they get the top tower and the bottom tower, if they can hold the rest of theirs in time, the gold will be almost even.
I believe I've mentioned this to Walmart Thief a couple times already, but the first item Infinity Edge Rush, I've never been a fan of. The point of Infinity Edge is that it scales multiplicatively with both crit chance, attack damage, and attack speed. The more attacks you get, the higher you have a chance you have to land a crit, and the more damage the crits will deal. Same with the crit chance. So building it as a first item makes it fairly ineffective. I would have expected to see a Bloodthirster rush, and then followed generally by a usually Phantom Dancer, or even just the components for it, and then you can go towards Infinity Edge if you really need.
Well, the other thing to remember, it's not a terrible choice just due to the fact that her Q gives her, you know, the 80% attack speed at max level. That's just so much attack speed. You get a lot of hits in to be able to use that, you know, crit damage. On most champions, it would not be a very good choice, but for Tristana, if she maxes her Q first, and that's her plan, it'll actually be like a decent item to have. But I also agree, I prefer Bloodthirster myself.
Yeah, the reason that was not done is because Tristana doesn't max Q until it used to be last. Now she maxes it second.
I was gonna say, I've never seen a Tristana max Q so early. Like, I've even seen Tristana's not even bother picking points into Q until like level 14.
It no longer costs mana.
Yeah, it used to be that way, but now because it doesn't cost mana, you can just cast it as often as it's off cooldown. So Infinity Edge
That
is
makes
not.
sense.
Good use of that pink ward.
Oh no, come on, Soraka, you can get out.
Jax is pressing his advantage, but it looks like bottom lane is just getting pummeled right now, and the Sivir is setting up every single attack and boomerang blade right in between both champions. And Leona also attacking both champions. They're actually able to do damage to both people at the same time instead of single target. Uh-oh, is this disengage going to be enough for Lulu?
She should have shielded herself. Oh no. Poor Lulu. So yeah, Team Purple, they've got themselves back into this game. They have the gold lead now.
I think bottom lane's really, really turned around, especially because the Akali gang. So although Jax is steamrolling top lane, it's not really affecting the bottom lane fights too much. And that's going to be a lot more kills and a lot more gold being gambled in those bottom team fights.
One thing I also want to point out is right now, if you look at assists, Team Blue only has 9 assists, whereas Team Purple actually has, I think it's 12 right now. Oh no, I think it's more than that.
Yeah, they actually have...
It's 14.
Yeah, 14 assists. That's a lot more gold being divvied up.
So like Team Purple, they have a lot more gold in between all 5 of them, whereas Team Blue, a lot of the gold right now is just kind of with Jax.
Jack's finally getting some boots, which is he is actually avoiding getting them for a long time. But after this Triforce item, he's actually going to be able to get really, really fast, strong initiates for anyone caught alone. So Purple Team just cannot afford to be by themselves. Even 2 people might not be enough to take them out right now. They just need to get their whole team together and be able to burst them down.
Very nice Lulu knock up to initiate that fight.
Jax is just so strong right now. I don't think Jenna even meant to take that hit, but they just got dropped so low before her slow could even go out and ended up taking the killing blow.
With the double supports, essentially, they have the dual damage threat of Jax, who has obviously gotten very, very far ahead and will continue to scale, but they also have Tristana. If Tristana is able to pull her way back into this game, complete a couple more items, then they have 2 supports and a jungler who can just sort of run interference anyone trying to dive into the team. If they're able to set that up, I'm not sure that Purple Team really has a response for that. They have a lot of single target lockdown with Warwick, they have the silence from Soraka, and then of course all of the Leona stuns. But that's only really going to take out one single target, unless they're able to overlap everything flawlessly.
Tristana, instead of trying to run, she just went extremely aggressive on Sivir, who showed up to lane slightly before Leona did. It gave her the huge health advantage. She might be able to secure a tower that hopefully she doesn't wait too long.
Now they just have to be careful because Akali's down here, and Akali is also pretty far ahead.
And they can also see that Udyr's top, although Warwick is as well. So it's going to be the Fed Jax versus the rest of the team that on purple is kind of spread out kills. And Akali's there, so if they all coordinate their attacks, they could burst him down.
In between Akali and Akali, they might be able to burst down Leo. She also missed her ultimate, so it wasn't able to take her down, but she does die. Now Jax is going on to Sivir. He manages to take her down, and he escapes the turret. We see the ultimate come down from Tristana, knocks away Akali, and he manages to pick up the kill. Jax is also super low. Soraka was not able to take her down.
I think that the blue team just had really, really good coordination on the CC as well as the Jax initiate with a Lulu knockback. They just got caught by surprise, and his burst was able to take people down before they could react.
I think the other issue is I didn't really see the Leona ultimate connect with anything. Like, it wasn't really that effective.
It kind of hit the edge of Tristana, it looked like, just slowing her, but not stunning anybody. She really would want to save that for the Jax initiate, stun him, and then just combo CC until he's dead. Because really, he's 12-1, really strong now, but if you had taken away those kills and locked down his damage, the rest of the team really wouldn't be able to lay into them fast enough to take anybody out, especially with Soraka healing.
So, the one good thing, though, that we saw was Warwick was able to outduel Udyr top lane, which was kind of shocking to me.
Yeah, Udyr will have the early game advantage, but Warwick has so much sustain late game.
Oh, Warwick, you overextended.
Yeah, the 1v4 fights never really seemed to go too well, and that was 1v5 with a Fed Jax. Unfortunately, I don't think he expected that many people. It looks like the purple team is playing frustration right now.
Yeah, they're so frustrated. They just keep going in. Like, I call this the meat grinder, where you just go in one at a time and everyone just slowly dies.
Yeah, we see this a lot in solo queue, is that somebody who's doing really, really well tends to try to take drastic measures to turn the team fights around by fighting 1 to 2 people at a time. And it ends up costing your team way, way, way more than you could ever hope to get out of a 1 kill or 2 kill. It's usually better to start focusing on objectives or picking somebody off and just playing smart.
Yeah, that's such a shame, Team Purple. They were doing so well. They managed to catch up, but unfortunately these last few fights have just been a little bit messy, and they haven't been able to kind of bring it into their favor.
It seems that it's kind of like a roller coaster ride. They have some very, very good team fights that are well coordinated, and then the next fight, everything might just fall apart. So when they get a good flow, they're able to do well. It's one of the frustrating things to do, even with pro players, is how to play well from behind. When your team is at a disadvantage, how do you still do well?
At this point, I actually would like to see Warwick have bought a pink ward so that he could place it on Baron. Warwick has the items to solo Baron at this point, so if he is able to sneak up there, if let's say blue team were to group bot lane, then he could just go in there, take away a free Baron, and try and get his team back in that way. I am a fan of him purchasing wards and helping out his team. I just would have liked to seen a little bit more in terms of ward clearing coming out from both teams, actually.
Yeah, I kind of figured that the Jax Udyr combo, they would try to 2-man Baron just because they're able to and hope the rest of the team distracted. Unfortunately, they don't have the rest of their team there.
Oh, he takes so much damage. Lulu isn't there to ult get down Jax. And now they're turning on to Janna and Udyr. They're so low, and now they're going to make a Baron attempt.
Yeah, this should be a free Baron.
They destroyed the pink ward, but didn't drop one themselves. That's interesting.
Unfortunately, they did not bring a pink ward with them this time. I made the same complaint last game. Janna has not swapped out for a sweeping lens, even though she has completed her Sightstone. As soon as you get your Sightstone, you need to swap it out, because the Warding Totem no longer has a purpose.
Yeah.
I think what happened there was blue team, they got a little bit too cocky. Leona, she engages in, she uses her ultimate. A lot of damage is getting put down onto Team Blue, however, they aren't going down. We see Udyr, he gets taken super low, but once again, not going down Sivir. She flashes, she manages to pick up the kill into Udyr, but now she gets exhausted, and Team Blue manages to pick up the kill onto her.
Yeah, Sivir going a little bit heavy, but blue team has a great chance to disengage. What with Lulu and the Janna tornadoes, they can keep their DPS very, very well protected. I don't think an assault is the best choice with the Baron buff right now.
Soraka going
Oh,
so
and Jax,
deep.
he revived. They're able to take her down, and Akali's going to try and juke him out. She uses her ultimate. She might be able to get away if she plays this smart.
Yeah,
they're
just
going to leave her alone.
that's going to be her only chance of escape, and it's really not worth it for them to chase whenever they can take a tower or some sort of objective. Blue team's playing really smart right now.
We see a lot of pings coming out from Team Blue, so they're clearly, I think they're communicating with each other a lot, so like, they're just doing a really good job of making sure that they're all on the same page and just coordinating.
Yeah, I also really like this Jax's item build, is that he's kind of noticing that the only way he's getting taken down is by the Warwick initiate when he's going in really hard.
Oof.
So if the first spell that has to be cast is Warwick's ultimate suppress, it'll get completely blocked by Banshee's Veil.
So Jenna, she went a little bit too far out there, and she got ulted by Warwick and unfortunately taken down by Akali. So Team Blue, they need to be a little bit careful here because we see that Team Purple, they can make the plays when they need to, and right now Team Purple has Baron, so they have to make sure that they don't misplay here or get caught out. Like, going for the red right now might be a little bit greedy for them.
Here comes Soraka, trying to make moves happen. She's getting that heal off in time. We'll see if Akali and the Leona bait. Jax might not be fast enough.
Yeah, managed to pick up the kill onto him.
That was a good bait by Soraka. Wasn't able to survive quite long enough. With
Not
Jax
sure if
out
I
of the
agree with
picture,
that
here
flash
comes the
there, but-
initiate.
Oh, the ultimate coming down from Leona. Lulu gets bursted down, Sever picking up the kill, but the follow-up Zenith Blade onto Udyr misses. However,
Followed by
Akali's there.
Shurelya's.
She manages to get him. The speed boost was really helpful there, taking Udyr super low, but now Janna and Tristana there
Ooh,
are
Tristana
forcing them
getting
to back
caught.
off. But Tristana gets caught out instead, and now she drops.
Yeah, that Tristana was making a very, very bold move and just happened to get too close to Leona. Leona's going to be really, really dangerous at this point in the game because everyone's damage is just so high. Actually landing that ultimate right on the money, that's kind of what the purple team is needed to kind of turn this around. They could get the first inhibitor here. We'll see how this plays out.
Yeah, I kind of saw it coming with like Team Blue. They're getting a little bit too greedy going for that red buff, and unfortunately it didn't quite work out for them.
Yeah, Blue team had a very, very strong advantage, and I think they just got a little bit overconfident, and especially after the last team fight where Purple team was sort of uncoordinated. They looked like they were just one of those, we got this, let's just try to, push it for the end and take Baron, and it ended up costing them their lead.
So Team Purple are back into this. This has just been like quite the game of like each team just progressively throwing.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's kind of something that's going to happen. Is as soon as you start to do well, to not get overconfident and not make too bold of moves. Like when you have an advantage, why take the risk of losing that advantage? You could just play it safe and push lanes and hold that advantage until the game's over.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like the warding's been getting better from both teams. Purple team still not really clearing wards as much.
Yeah, I've noticed that, is that like I'm not seeing many wards getting placed down by either team this game.
There was some really good warding, but it expired about 20 minutes into the game where they just they focused more on kill potential and pick potential and are not replacing their wards as they're expiring anymore. I do notice, though, that both Lulu and Jenna have picked up their sweeping lens. No one has upgraded it, unless the spectator client just doesn't show that properly. They really do need to get that upgrade to the oracles so that they can detect Akali in these team fights. Being able to pick her off would be a huge bonus for them in all of these.
Yeah, Soraka's building straight tank items. Looks like she wasn't able to really hold her advantage necessarily, so she's going to try to follow with Leona on being a distraction. So when everyone will just initiate her or Leona, allowing Sivir and Akali to just sort of pick people off and pick off the carries if Jax isn't focusing them. If the purple team can focus Jax down in a team fight, they'll probably win the fight overall. It's going to be a lot of very, very heavy focus on Tristana as well. Those are going to be the two people that if they can get taken out, they're going to end up losing. Blue team will lose the fight, but if they're allowed to take off one or two people, they'll steamroll the rest of the team.
So it looks like we have some bush baits coming out here. This is a solid strategy, but I didn't see anyone use a sweeper when they walked into it.
There's actually a ward in that bush.
There is, yeah.
As you speak of it.
Yeah, bush baits are all well and good, and you can use them to your advantage, but generally you want to do them... Well, first of all, you need to be able to sweep it, but you also want to use it where you know the enemy team has to go. So, for example, clear Baron, force them to check it, and catch them out in a bush.
Yeah. And you always want to keep a sweeper for just that occasion. But also, it's kind of interesting is that I see this really commonly is after you take down mid inhibitor, a lot of times people still push the mid lane. It just seems the default lane to go to.
I complain about that all the time. Yeah, if you have taken mid inhibitor, there's nothing left to take. So at that point, I would generally be doing something like a 1-4 split, or if you have a better 5v5 team fight, then you just all barrel down either top or bot.
Yeah, especially with Baron down, is the time to go bot lane. So if you can get that inhibitor when the Baron comes back up, the blue team won't be able to both take it, stop you from taking Baron as well as defend their bot lane.
See a lot of sieging coming down. Mid lane's going to push eventually, and Team Blue is going to have to be really careful of that. However, Baron's coming back up again in 15 seconds.
Patience is going to be the key here. It's whichever team can be more patient will actually get the advantage. If purple team tries to initiate too soon, they'll end up losing the team fight with Jax and Lulu fighting under tower.
Leon trying to connect with the Zenith blade, but just isn't quite able to.
Oh no! If Sivir gets caught here, it's going to be really dangerous.
I have to admit, this would be the point where I'd be playing Annie and I just flash ult someone. I'd be like, okay, screw it, I'm done waiting.
Yeah, it's that patience game of just who can outwait the other team. Looks like purple team's been really good about not going in, and blue team, even if they've seen some chances to kind of initiate, it's a little bit too risky at this point because it would cost them the game if they don't make it. They've actually lasted long enough to get their inhibitor back up. They might have a 5-man team fight, and purple team does not have Baron this time.
Looks like Jax doesn't quite have his Randuin's up. If they are able to land a fight before that's completed, it could allow them to have a better chance of winning. I wouldn't say that they'd be able to win the fight just hands down, but it's a good opportunity for them. So here we see the same bush bait coming out. This time they are not standing on a ward, so if they are able to catch out Jax or even Lulu or Tristana, if they're able to kill off one of the slightly less tanky targets, then they should be able to sort of steamroll those fights.
Team Blue did a really good job here. They warded Baron, they see that no one's really attempting it right now. But they also know that Team Purple, nowhere on their map, probably hiding in the bush somewhere trying to bait them out, so they aren't really face-checking bushes or like overextending.
I'm wondering what Soraka's doing with her gold. She has 1,700
Oh
gold.
no, oh dear, he face-checks and he gets caught out. He's forced to burn flash.
I was very surprised he was actually able to survive that. They have a Warwick, they have somebody out of position. That's the perfect time to seal the game and sort of just let him go to guarantee they get Baron.
So with that though, it looks like it's just enough for them to convince themselves that yes, now we can try Baron. However, Team Blue, they know that this is happening. They're kind of shy, they don't know if they want to do this, and they're actually going to back off and let Team Purple get a free Baron.
It's one of those, you have to make a decision. Are you going to stop him or not?
And Warwick, he gets ulted by Lulu though, so his ultimate doesn't get the full duration, and now they're all trying to burst down Jax, but he survives thanks to the Jan ultimate. They're re-engaging into the team fight, but instead they're all getting taken super low. Udyr's the first to fall down, Akali also falling really low. Jax, he's still in this fight, but he finally gets taken down by Sivir, and now Leona really low as well. She gets taken down by Tristana. Lulu, Tristana, and Jenna doing everything they can to try and disengage from this fight and stay alive. But Lulu, she's out of position slightly. She's forced to burn flash to get away from it. Now Warwick's still chasing after them, but not really able to do anything from that.
Yeah,
so overall, that was a great fight from Team Purple.
Warwick's Hungering Call combined with Sivir's ultimate is just going to give everyone so much attack speed. It's going to be really dangerous to be in there, especially after the Baron buff. You just can't risk fighting without a tower.
Mm-hmm. Soraka, she's getting a little bit confident against Tristana, who's really strong right now in the late game, but Akali engages onto her, takes a lot of damage.
That
And
boomerang.
Warwick actually gets a lot of damage with Sivir onto Jan, and they managed to take her down.
Yeah, one of the things about Warwick that makes him much stronger now as opposed to before, even though Soraka has about 3,000 gold and she is kind of tanky, is that Warwick's damage with that Feral Fire at this point in the game, 2 Barons in, is just going to be almost somebody's entire health bar with just in his suppress.
Yeah, Bleed of the Ruined King plus Feral Flare, that's a lot of damage coming out from him.
any amount of lifesteal that he'll have off it, that's kind of the advantage he's getting over Jax. I'm surprised that Soraka and Leona both went Frozen Heart. Neither of them went Randu and Zoman. Normally on a team, you want to have one person have Frozen Heart to slow the overall attack speed, and it's almost a better advantage to get that extra health and the attack slow potential against Jax. Randu and Zoman's just such a good item against heavy auto attackers like Tristana and Jax.
Mm-hmm. I really like it, yeah.
Yeah. Soraka may be building it.
That's so awkward. That blue minion just chased Warwick so far, so they know where they are right now. There we go.
It's always a little scary, just like, walk away, don't come in my bush.
The worst is when it scouts Dragon for you.
Oh, man.
It will walk all the way up to Dragon, and you're just doing Dragon being like, someone kill the damn minion.
You can't tell how far it's going to necessarily follow you. It's the distance. If you're walking really slow and it's on you, just kill it just to not give away free vision.
So Dragon's warded right now by blue team, and Udyr's kind of hanging around, but I don't think he can really do anything right now, and he's wisely backing off.
Udyr, unlike a lot of the other, junglers, cannot necessarily flash over a wall, get Dragon, and get away. Versus Jax could probably, come over the wall, attack it, and then jump back.
It's interesting that they gave Sivir. They gave blue buff over to Sivir rather than Soraka or anyone else on their team. She does use a lot of mana, but it still seems a surprising decision to me.
I actually think at this point in the game, it's probably the best person to have it, just because Sivir, without using her spell shield, will have mana problems, but she can keep up her W as well as keep throwing boomerangs as like a long range siege over their team. And Soraka has just died. She's 1 in 10. She's kind of throwing herself on the altar for the most part for the betterment of the team.
Yeah, the other thing is the CDR from the blue buff is going to help Sivir with the sieging with the long-range boomerang blades.
As well as the cooldown reduction. And the boomerang blade is able to attack all 5 teammates if they're lined up, too. That's a huge advantage for long-range poke.
So Team Purple, they know that
Soraka's
sieging isn't
way
going to
too
work out,
close.
but Soraka, way too extended. She gets cut out. And Jax, the AoE stun gets put out onto both Soraka and Akali and Sivir. They're forced to burn out. Leona ultimate comes down. A lot of damage is coming out, and Sivir's the first one to
Jax
drop,
is
followed
not
by
be taken
Akali.
down.
Oh no, Tristan and Jax are doing so much damage.
In both of these fights, Tristana has been able to just stand still and auto-attack for pretty much the full duration of the team fight. And if they cannot let that happen, Tristana come late game, with her range, with her attack speed from her Q, she's just going to absolutely shred the front line.
Yeah, and that's
Oh
exactly
my
what we
goodness.
saw there. If you can't burst Jax down, if you let him initiate, get his attack speed built up, and you start losing teammates, eventually you'll get to that teeter-totter moment where your team does not have enough damage to stop his lifesteal.
Sneaky, can you nerf Jax for us?
It's not really my thing.
Damn it.
It's actually one of those hard decisions for top laners where do you make them so that they're able to fight a jungler, defend themselves, but not get so strong where they can steamroll and fight, your AD carry without any sort of risk. So there's a kind of a tipping point where top laners are too strong or they're too weak, because you can't have them too much weaker, they won't be useful as tanks in team fights. But if you have them any stronger, they'd just be too powerful. So we're trying to, get them right in that niche spot where they can both be useful to their team late game, but not too strong where they can solo, 3 people at a time.
Clearly the answer is just make Victor even stronger so that I can play him more.
And that's got to be it.
Yes.
Obviously, only answer.
Victor is always the answer.
I actually really, really enjoy Victor. I'm one of the few people who picks up his yellow staff as opposed to the red staff, because I love to just Q poke with that shield and run around and auto attack people. And doing that with like a Lich Bane or something is really, really fun.
Yeah,
I love
I
playing
mained Victor
Victor
for a
on the
long
minion, that was
time.
fun.
I've sort of stopped recently with the carry junglers being a thing again. It just makes playing Victor so much more frustrating.
Yeah, he's a lot of the people with glass cannon
Ooh,
bills are
we see
pretty
the
tough.
engage come out. Warwick manages to land his ultimate onto Jax, but he took no damage from that. And the disengage from Lulu helps him survive. However, they're caught out right now. Jax is finally taking a lot of damage, but they successfully disengaged that with the Jenna Tornado.
Yeah, that Jax using that counter strike at that perfect moment. Looks like everyone was just trying to auto attack him and burst him down, and he just avoided everything. Akali also having to use melee attacks is really getting a disadvantage against Jax right here.
So with that, they might be able to take the Baron if they're smart about it. I'd like to see a few more wards from Team Purple. Actually, no, they're
I was going to say they have all the
inhibitors
wards.
back.
With
They're able to
Udyrs
delay the
flash
fight.
down, they should be able to do this. My concern, though, is that honestly, I would have Warwick doing the Baron and the rest of them bush baiting. Warwick can easily rejoin that fight if he needs to, but he needs to force them to fight while they have the advantage. They can't wait.
They need to find a way to both poke down the Jax shield before he initiates, allow Warwick to ulti him before Jax can counterstrike, and if you can burst down Jax, you can focus Tristana and just take out their DPS. Soraka having Rylai's is actually going to give them a big chance to kite that Jax a little bit better.
They are
See the
forced to
engage
fight,
frame
though.
from
But
Jax. Akali getting taken down ridiculously, though. So much damage. But the Soraka ultimate keeps them all alive for a little bit more. Udyr and Jax both going on to Sivir, taking a lot
Akali
of
needs
damage,
to
but
get
he's
in
able
there.
to disengage. And now Jax, he's focusing Soraka, but Udyr goes down, and now Jax is getting dropped super low as well. He also goes down. Warwick dropping to Lulu, however. So right now there's 4 people alive on Team Purple, 3 people alive on Team Blue. You see
Wow.
Sivir, she flashes, tries to take down Lulu, but isn't able to get her. So both of the junglers for the team are dead. And it looks like Team Purple is actually going to go back to try and respond to the bottom lane that's pushing.
yeah, they need to send one person back to defend, and the rest of them needed to take those inhibitors. Without Warwick, I feel that this Baron call is a little bit risky, because with home guards, Lulu and the rest of the team could get back here and poke them out.
The only thing, though, is Leona has her ultimate, so if Tristana screws this up, they might be okay.
It could be the game.
There we go. Hopefully
Yep,
that's enough.
lands
Taking
it.
a lot of... There we go. And now it's just Janna.
Janna's in a bad position,
Yeah.
and Baron's not low enough where they could do anything. I'm not sure why she's still attacking it, almost helping him at this point.
I'm not sure why she didn't use her ultimate earlier to kind of help out Tristana.
Or push somebody out of the Baron circle on the other side and kind of get them out of the fight.
Yeah. That was a little bit of a risky
Yeah.
play. Leona, she had her ultimate. She's able to turn that around, and they're able to pick up both, well, the double kill as well as Baron.
I'm really, really interested to see kind of why Jax was focusing on Soraka so heavily, because having that Frozen Heart, Spirit Visage, Rylai's, she's just so tanky, she's going to be hard to take down, and the Rylai's allows her to slow him constantly, so he's going to have a hard time reaching her.
And I was kind of surprised because, yeah, Udyr was focusing onto Sivir, like, really nicely, but Jax, like, he kind of tried, and then he switched targets to Soraka kind of partway through the fight, which was strange. This has been a really good game. Like, I'm impressed.
What's interesting is like the high kill count. Some people, aren't even at max items yet. They're getting there, but 45 minutes into the game, that's quite a bit of time that people are just kind of like waiting for the team fights to break out. And I'm sort of surprised that Purple hasn't tried any risky plays, as in just get the inhibitors, get the minions pushing, and then we can safely take Baron without a problem. They kind of wanted the Baron buff in order to be able to fight the blue team and take those inhibitors. I'm pretty sure if the blue team wins this next fight, they'll be able to push their advantage to get an inhibitor.
Warwick is getting
See
in
the
behind if he
engage.
can get onto
Janna, she's taking a
Tristana.
lot of damage, and now
Oh,
Warwick is behind.
he got that
gets the
Q
ultimate
off.
onto Jax, but Janna disengages really nicely. Janna, however, drops. But Jax still has a lot of HP left. Now they're engaging onto Udyr. Team Blue should try and turn this around now. The Leona ultimate comes down, hits all 4 of them, but there's no follow-up right now. Lulu also getting taken down really low by the Boomerang blade with Leona's Sunlight passive. They
Just
managed to get the
melting
inhibitor.
that
The engage coming down from the Zenith blade. They managed to take them down really low. But Lulu uses her, the Hourglass, manages to stay alive for a bit. Udyr gets taken down, however, by Akali, as well as Lulu.
This should be the game,
Jax
definitely.
just got too much damage coming at him when he tried to initiate there. Had to back off. They lost all their momentum right afterwards.
That was an absolutely
Oh, wow.
phenomenal game. Just all the back and forth. Obviously, a lot of thrown objectives, thrown fights, but that it happens in all ELOs, all solo queue games. But really good job just taking advantage where you can and pulling themselves back into this game.
It was a really good plays by both teams. I thought both teams were able to kind of set up some good plays. They had some good team fights. Sure, both teams threw at different points in times, but there's no risk without a reward, and really paid off for the blue team or purple team being able to get that last Baron.
Okay, so in the
Yeah.
meantime, would you like to go over, or I'll actually start with some of the item builds and just final comments on the game. I believe Brian is forming the next match now, so if you get an invite, if you are in one of the chat rooms and you get an invite from Falverick, please accept it. That is for the next workshop game. In the meantime, we have Uter, who has gone for his Feral Flare, Blade of the Ruin King, Boots of Swiftness, which is actually gaining in a little bit of popularity, although he could have gone for other options if he needed a little bit more tenacity, which he did not build any tenacity items. Or he could have gone for a little less armor in his build and gone for Ninja Tabi. All good options, but just given his team, I would agree with that choice. Frozen Heart, Spirit Visage, Sheen, which I'm assuming he would be building into a Iceborne Gauntlet if he was wanting a little bit more CC. He could have gone for Trinity Force, but generally if you're building damage on a jungler like Udyr, you want it completed early in the game, not at the 40-45 minute mark. Jax got very far ahead and was able to push his advantage. He had his Blade of the Ruin King, he had Randuin's Omen, Banshee's Veil, Trinity Force, Merc Treads, and looked to have been building a little bit more health as well. Overall, his build decisions were quite good, as you mentioned during the game, I believe, Sneaky, where he got his core items, and then he realized, I'm being focused, I need to build a little bit more defensive, and it's mostly boiling down to me getting initiated on before I want it. So the Banshee's Veil was a very good pickup. I really do like that choice. Overall, his build is pretty standard, not anything really out of the ordinary. Lulu, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, the one thing that kind of we saw in that last team fight is that Jax, if he was able to pick up steam and survive long enough, he would actually able to win the team fights as long as he could survive the initial little burst with his Counter-Strike. Warwick being able to get in and get his Q off to break the shield and then ulti right afterwards ended up almost costing them the game as a result. So he had really, really good builds, but like you were saying with the Udyr and Jax combo, they were just having a hard time, as tanky as they were, getting those initiates off.
Mm-hmm. Now, I like what Lulu was aiming for in her build. She had her Athenes, so she has her CDR. She's combining that with Stinger. Never did upgrade that to Nashor's. That's slightly surprising. I would have liked to see a Lichbane on her so that she had some burst to contribute to these, because a lot of the fights were boiling down to, can we finish one priority target, and then can we cycle on to the next one? So while Nashor's is a pretty good item on Lulu for consistent DPS, I would have wanted to see a Lichbane instead so that she had the burst. She has her Hourglass finished, she has her Death Cap finished, so yeah, I would have suggested final items to be Lichbane and Void Staff to make sure her damage is remaining relevant and making sure she has proper burst potential. Tristana, I commented on the Infinity Edge rush in game, we were in the game. Overall, her decision was perfectly fine. I'm not sure, I guess she was building that Chain Vest into a Guardian Angel. Honestly, Guardian Angel isn't commonly built on AD carries anymore. It's mostly Banshee's Veil because of the early pick potential that you have with things like Warwick alt, things like the Leona alt. So honestly, Banshee's Veil might have been a better option.
Yeah, a lot of times what we'll see with Guardian's Angels, sort of the disappointing thing is that with an AD carry, if you get caught, if you get hit by somebody and they're able to sort of lock you down, the Guardian's Angel is only a delay to your death. It's if you're already caught and you're down, your DPS is out of the fight. As soon as you res back up, they just burst you down with 1 or 2 hits, as opposed to having a Banshee's Veil will keep that from ever being the case. Getting you that, like, if you leap away and somebody stuns you, it's blocked, versus, being able to stay in that fight for 2 more seconds.
For sure. Now, in terms of Janna, I like the Crucible pickup. The problem with it is that Crucible does not remove Warwick ult. A lot of people don't seem to realize that. I was actually playing support versus Warwick a while back in Ranked, and my entire team kept spamming at me, being like, just rush Crucible, that's all we care about. And I was like, well, the only CC on their team besides Warwick ult, I think it was like a Kale slow or something like that. So it's like, yeah, it wouldn't be a bad item to have so that we can actually disengage these fights, and the heal is definitely useful. But there are better items. If you aren't able to remove the Warwick ult, and that's what's losing you the fights, you're probably better building something like a Talisman of Ascension so you can chase and peel, or building something like, very situational, but a Locket if you're versus an AoE combo team. There's just better options if you're versus that one single priority stun sort of a team comp. That being said, there was a Leona on the other team, so it wasn't a bad choice, but it is something for Janna to keep in mind in future games. She did build an Aegis. I don't actually like the Aegis, and my reason is that there was a lot of mixed damage coming out from the enemy team, and while Aegis does offer some magic resist, unless you're versus a full AoE team or a full magic damage team, Aegis of the Legion and Locket of the Iron Solari are kind of lackluster in their current state now that they don't have armor.
Yeah, but with the Warwick ulti aside, Leona having that snare and that just being able to like really lock down your AD carry, it's a pretty inexpensive item that will also give you some mana sustain. I do think that you're right that she might not have necessarily needed the mana because of already having the Frozen Heart, but as an early item, it is good so that she can just kind of stay in the fight for a long period of time. She also has like Talisman of the Ascension, so I do wonder if she could have gotten something that would make her kind of get like a little bit better, health, or why having the Mikhail's Crucible with the Talisman of Ascension. Just choose one between the two supportive items.
For sure, and just looking at their team comp right now, they have a hell of a lot of auto attackers. I would have liked to see it's not Banner of Command. It's never built anymore, but it's like an aura of auto attack damage for your team, and I cannot think of what it is.
Oh, so you're thinking of the I just drew a blank as well.
No one builds it anymore since they changed it.
It gets built very, very rarely on specific teams. I actually think it might be what turned into Banner of the Command.
Definitely doesn't turn into Banner of Command anymore. Regardless, though, Zeke's Herald, yes. Zeke's Herald.
Zeke's Herald, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been a decent option. I'm not saying it would have been like the absolute best purchase you could ever buy in this team comp, but they did have a Udyr, they had a Jax, they had a Lulu, they had a Tristana. All a hell of a lot of auto attacks going on. I think it would have been a good option.
Yeah, plus having that, additional like lifesteal. I mean, with a team comp, you're correct that having very, very heavy auto attackers would be a really, really good choice. Which is also sort of interesting that the Soraka, Leona, and Warwick, all three built Frozen Hearts, and it's one of those you really only need one person to give the reduced attack speed aura. The rest should be building Randuin's Omen, Spear of Visage, something that'll kind of help keep you alive.
And especially Banshee's Veils. Banshee's Veils are incredibly powerful right now. Most people have moved away from Visage because of the nerfs to it, and it's not uncommon to see 3 or 4 Banshee's Veils per team come late game.
Yeah, I'm also surprised that that Warwick picked a Frozen Heart over a Banshee's Veil, because having that Banshee's Veil when he uses his Suppress, his ultimate, is what would allow him to finish the whole way through instead of constantly getting interrupted and having his ultimate stopped.
Yeah, personally, if I was playing Warwick, I would not have built the Randuins. I would have had Leona built that. And I still would have built Frozen Heart because of the CDR and because of the armor and the aura, because you're jumping into the middle of the team. But you are definitely correct. That Banshee's Veil would have done wonders for him in terms of just reliability of his ult.
Yeah, the only thing to think about with the Frozen Heart is that since he was also building the Thornmail, he has that large amount of armor, which kind of fall off over time. Having the reflective damage, if you're planning on staying in the fight for a while, that's going to be really useful against Tristana. So the Randuin's Omen giving you health, and being against a Tristana, Udyr, and Jax, that slow, the passive, is going to be just the most useful item you can have against a team like that. Unfortunately, if your damage is stopped, it's not going to be that useful.
For sure. Just taking a look at the teams, Sivir actually built a Mallet, and that's a really strange choice for a ranged champion. It's reduced slow. It's 30% slow if you're a ranged champion. That being said, the health, I kind of understand why she was going for it, but if you want a defensive item, why not go for Banshee's Veil at that point?
I really actually like the Mallet on there. I mean, the idea is that Sivir has her spell shield. If you're really good with that spell shield, you shouldn't be having anyone able to reach you or able to get that kind of like a burst initiate on you. The idea behind the Frozen Mallet is, if your Warwick's not building or no one else on your team is really getting a slow, if she uses her attack, her huge speed advantage, if she auto attacks somebody one time like Jax, she can actually kite him for a very, very long period of time. using her flash and heal, she can almost get away from his leaps as well. It's just really, really hard to take advantage of it, and it does give you a little bit of health, but you're right, having a Banshee's Veil with the Spell Shield additionally could have been useful. I almost would keep the Frozen Mallet and maybe late games sell off like the Static Shiv and try to go for something a little bit heavier in damage, or even like a Phantom Dancer so you can run through minions.
Yeah, it would definitely be some good options. Overall, though, I don't see a huge issue with any of their builds. Akali, I didn't really comment on her building Gunblade. It's still a fine item on her. She had definitely enough burst to clean up kills. I wouldn't have minded seeing a defensive item on her, though. But outside of that, all good job on everyone here. I know what I'm missing there. Akali, no Hourglass.
Yeah, she was trying to rely very, very heavily on her stealth and just sort of kind of in and out of fights and just try to one-shot somebody. The cool thing is about her build is that her itemization, it seems like her entire build was geared towards just one-shotting Jax. So when Jax gets suppressed, they want to be able to just blow him up, not give him a chance to retaliate or get his counter-strike off. But without the Zhonya's, as soon as he drops that stealth ward, she's dead and doesn't get to take advantage of any of her items. So you're right that getting that at least as one of the items, but maybe that's what she was planning if the game had lasted a bit longer.
Yeah, I generally expect to see it as a second or third item on Akali because resetting her cooldowns is so very important. You want to be able to throw your Q, jump onto them with your Alt-E auto attack. You essentially just use one full combo and then you use your stealth field. If they detect you in it, you need to use your Hourglass so that you're guaranteed to survive for the second combo.
Yeah. I think that the Gunblade's still kind of a good choice for kiting, because once you go in that stealth, they're a little bit slowed. You can kind of Gunblade and run away. It's a really, really useful item for farming, too. It kind of gives you that sustain, so you don't have to keep chugging health pots and running back to the base. But going from Death Cap to Deathfire Grasp and Lichbane, that's no idea that you're going to be getting attacked or focused at all. So maybe not get the Lichbane just yet if you're trying to go for a burst build and get like a Zhonya's Hourglass. It'll give you even more ability power as well, and she doesn't need the mana, so
For sure.